Hey guys, EliteChris35 here. Hope you enjoyed that song, and if you did, give the video a like. Also, download the song. Link in the description. If you haven't already, subscribe.
Alright, it's Mark, and let's see, it's another live show tonight, of course, every Wednesday. Today is August 26, 2015, and I think I've resolved the audio issues since last week, which is good. So tonight's show, I have some things lined up. We're going to start talking about this cool project. It's a 3D printed stepper motor, and so, oh wow, the chat's really lively. Hey everybody. That's good. So stepper motors, I don't know if you guys are familiar with stepper motors, but they're used a lot in different areas of stop motion. Probably the most well-known reason for stepper motors to be used is for motion control, and that can include puppets. It can include moving your camera. It can include even lights, I suppose. If you wanted to, you could use motion control for that. There's a lot of sequences like in Paranorman and other films that where the whole entire scene will transition from day to night, or maybe there's some kind of strange effects like laser beams or plasma or something that lights up the scene and it moves. So motion control is frequently used essentially to attach something to, it could be, like I said, anything, a light, a puppet, a camera, and it moves in increments, and each increment is very precise depending on the motor. So one of the things that let's see, this is from Proto G, and I found this and I thought it was a cool project, but of course you had to have a 3D printer of some kind. But here on YouTube they have links to, there's a step-by-step guide, there's also other projects that he has as well, but and he has a Patreon page, so he's, I guess, producing a lot of these kind of YouTube videos, techie kind of videos. But I saw this and I thought this would be kind of cool for stop motion purposes, and it's all laid out really simply for you to understand. And actually, you don't even really need a 3D printer to do this. You could technically make all this stuff by hand with a saw and wood, and also I think he uses nails here. So anyway, let's watch the video and maybe you guys can get some ideas as to how this could be used yourself. And there's not a lot of audio to this, by the way, just so you know. And he will talk, I promise you.
So I'm going to go ahead and slow this down so you can see how this works. But basically you energize the coils in a counterclockwise direction to make the rotor rotate in a clockwise direction. And you just reverse it to make the rotor go in counterclockwise direction. You energize the coils in clockwise direction, like this. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. So this motor takes 15-degree full steps, and it's capable of doing half steps. And the way half steps work is it energizes two pairs of coils at the same time. That way you go from 15-degree steps to 7.5-degree half steps.
So it seems a bit strange if you're not familiar with electronics, but it's actually very simple to make. If ever, I don't know why Donald Trump is on my page here. What is this? All right, at least they're making reference to him being a little bit crazy. But if you look up on here, on YouTube yourself, 3D printed stepper motor, and Proto G is the channel. So there's a step-by-step guide as well that you can follow. And I thought, this would be kind of a fun thing, actually, for just trying to make a puppet have some motion blur, or to, for example, if you have some kind of a motor or something, not a motor, like a blender or some kind of moving part that has to have motion blur. There's ways to do that by hand which are simpler than this, but the problem is that if you're trying to click off frames and you have something that's where you had to actually physically be doing something on the set while clicking the frame, it might not be such a good idea. So this is something you would kind of build in order to be distant from what you are adding blur to, essentially. But so on Instructables.com, that's Instructables like you're instructing somebody. You could also look out 3D printed stepper motor by Proto G again. So he has Proto G for the same username on both sites. So definitely pretty neat. And stepper motors are used so frequently in big studios where they have $1 million budgets. But for the little guy, it's unless you have a big budget, you're pretty much stuck with either getting a stepper motor out of an old printer, which might be able to be controlled by this control box, actually. I'm not really sure, but that would be something else to consider as well, because they're kind of easy to come by, those type of motors. So let me see here. It's got a parts list, and the Arduino Uno is something that Dragonframe can control as well, I understand, Arduinos. So this actually does extend towards the software that you can buy inexpensively, or pretty inexpensively. There's some comments on here, but I probably won't tackle this myself. I can't download the PDF document, but there's 8 steps involved. Let's see if I can click on each step. So this octagonal rotor and stator is made by a 3D printer, and this would be the part that I think you'd have to sort of look at and reverse engineer, maybe out of wood or plastic of some kind, if you don't have a 3D printer. And what is this? Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess to understand, it says you have to understand what the poles are on your electromagnets, and also your neodymium magnets as well. So you can do that with the compass. Is it north or south? And yeah, don't know if this is all pretty much it's all been explained in the video already. But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Kind of crazy or kind of fun, or would you rather just make a puppet instead? Oh my God, Donald Trump, he's behind me. No. Oh, Claymar is asking Ron Cole if he's still gonna make a fairy. And he says, I want to make the fairy, but that's going to be a ton of work, so I opted to do the monster idea in my spare time instead. I'm making a terrifying worm creature. That's pretty cool. So Ron, I don't remember, that's your own personal project, correct? And he says... Or Jason Morrow says, seems like a lot of work to save time and effort. Yeah, it would be a lot of work. But the cool part is once you build one of these motion control rigs or systems, so you'd have it for every future project. So it might actually pay off. So Ron says, I'd need to hire someone to do that kind of thing for me because I suck at electronic stuff. My son maybe, because that's the kind of thing I do manually with screws, scrap wood, and hot glue. And Bobby Harling thinks that Ron is a fairy. I've heard rumors, but... Okay, so since we were on the theme of motion control, this here is describes motion control use on Night of the Trampires. So this is a project that Chuck Steele... It's actually, I believe we've talked about this in the past. Chuck Steele is semi-popular on here, believe it or not. I think they're starting to, they added 2 months ago another, yeah, they're adding more videos. I'm not sure, but the project's done, so I'm not sure they're going to be doing that for much longer. But let's watch this video and you can see one of the uses for motion control.
These have all been made for us specifically by a guy called Mohan. So he's built all of these carbon fibre pan and tilt heads and these tracks, all bespoke for us. These are prototypes at the moment. It's worked with bare wires, so then he's going to build the next one. He's going to build us longer ones. It's quite nice it being like this because then we can do nodal moves, nodal pans and nodal tilts. It's when you're rotating around the point of the sensor. So this one you can see got lots of motion blur. So it makes the move smoother. It doesn't stutter so much. But compositors don't like it so much because it's harder to, you don't get the defined edge to cut around. That's quite a hard thing to key around. So we'll use it when we don't need to sort of have any like layers effect there. So this one's a bit less, so we can vary the amount of blur we want. So that one's got a lot less motion blur. Normally you have go motion, it just moves, it just moves and takes a frame, moves and takes a frame, but this is built in the interval, so it's got an overlap, so it makes it more frame accurate.
So that is from the set of Chuck Steele, and why don't we watch the trailer for this so at least you guys can see what they were working on, kind of get some more context here. Let's watch it. Please load. There we go.
Officer Chuck Steele is the best.
Alright. See if we can...
Goddamn cop on the force.
God damn it! Where the hell is Steele?
He's also a careful driver. He's respectful to his superiors.
Blow it out your ass, chump knuckles.
And he works alone.
I work alone.
But when the city's most influential banker is kidnapped,
If we don't get our money in 5 minutes, the suit gets it.
Chuck comes face to face with the future of law enforcement.
Guy's a goddamn sexual pervert.
Together, they must show that crime doesn't pay.
You're busted.
It hurts. But when Chuck's new partner proves to be about as useful as a cup of warm piss,
Ass-face, quit screwing around.
Chuck has to kick some serious ass.
Motherfucker! God, we're all gonna die!
Officer Chuck Steele
Freeze!
has a heart of fury,
Bring it, fish lips!
fists of thunder, and raging balls of steel justice.
Gotta admire him. Go fuck yourself.
So there you have it. It's obviously very edgy sort of project, but the animation is really great, and of course So you can kind of understand, the purpose behind motion control, hopefully a little bit better. It will add motion blur for your camera, for your puppets. You get accurate moves, and it interfaces with Dragon frames. So a lot of positive reasons to explore that if you are a studio or just somebody that maybe has a larger budget and can do something like that. Now, of course, there's also, you can buy a lot of. Let me see if I can find it on Google here real quick. Motion. I'm going to just bring up the search results here. So here is FLIR.com. This is one of the companies that are creating motion control systems using stepper motors and interfaces and so forth. And let's see, we have a pan tilt unit. They have software as well and controllers to control everything. So much more advanced and commercially produced products, which will cost you, it will cost you a lot to be direct. They have distributors and resellers here, but there are companies that do sell. If you're not good with electronics like Ron Cole, you might go that route. No cows involved. And Ron says, I hope the Chuck Steele thing is accessible for stop motion, but not my kind of film. Yeah, it's edgy. There was one guy who wrote to me recently on to my email, and he said, oh yeah, I'd like to hire a team of people for a really edgy film, and this production company turned me down because it was edgy and so forth, but I want to stick to my vision, and I want to have sex, drugs, and rock and roll and all that kind of stuff in there, and that's the thing. It's is it good for stop motion, bad for stop motion, or whatever? I don't know. I guess it's up to the person watching what they think. And Claymara says, do think the puppets are very neat, and the movements they make, for example, the jump is very impressive. Yeah, it's actually they're pretty good with their technical skills, for sure. So let's see, which one should I watch next? Maybe this one. Last week, I think I talked a little bit about this. Aaron Bothman posted this. He said, stop motion clouds set up in the studio for the Tame Impala Let It Happen video. And it's by David Wilson. And thanks to Eben Zabak for working on the cameras and lighting. So I saw this and I thought, wow, that looks pretty nice. It seems like what they've done is they've strung some cotton batting material across the table and suspended it so they could shine lights from behind and to illuminate the clouds. And then on the front, I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that's going to be synthetic cotton of some kind. And it's a really simple thing here. They didn't really animate this, I don't believe, from what I've seen. So this here was used in this video called Tame Impala Let It Happen, and it was directed by David Wilson, and the production company is Colonel Blimp. Executive producer is Paul Weston, producer Corin Taylor, head of music videos Nathan James Tetty, and production manager is Sophie Dewey. So they actually have a long list of credits. It's mainly live action, and then they've green screened a lot of segments in here for those clouds. Now I'm not going to play the audio because YouTube will just flag this broadcast, and it might not show up for everybody. And plopping in cold water and then hot water, I guess. And at the separation line between the two, hot and cold, you can pour in something like condensed milk and get cloud formations that way. So there's different ways to do it. I kind of like the cloud tank method, but you have to green screen that into your shots. So there's positive and negatives to each method, but I thought that these clouds looked pretty cool. And so here you can see how it was done. Really simple. And I guess what they did is they color corrected and changed the lighting, and looks like they added some kind of glow and lots of effects, trying to cover up the fact that it is cotton. But not too bad. And the green screen that they did here is actually pretty good, I have to say. Here as well, they're using some sort of like a hole of some kind that he falls through with these clouds, and I'm guessing that's probably the same technique, cotton as well. And so let's see here. So Ron says, never had any reason to make cotton clouds, but every time I see someone do it, I'm jealous. I'd love to try that. It's really fun. It's actually really fun to light it, you know, like as I did for Teddy Bear's Mistake. I had this really blue sort of style or look to the intro of the film. Everything was blue, right? Lots of blue gels, and it definitely sucks you into a different, you know, you feel like you're being transported into a different dimension if you know, look at your set kind of through the camera and so forth. It just looks really cool. It's just nice to have everything there in the camera, I guess. That's why I kind of like it. So, yeah. So, Ron Cole says, looks real to me. And Clay Morrow says, semi-realistic. Yeah, it's pretty good, I think. And Hebert says, very real. And Jason says, it would have looked much more realistic with a full stop-motion animation. I agree with you there. I do. And Ron Cole says, the encounters tank invented for close encounters of the third kind. So yeah, he just falls. So I'm kind of contemplating what I'm going to do on my next film project. Is it going to be cotton clouds or fish tank time? I'm not sure. Because the fish tank stuff is neat also, because the clouds can move, right? If you do time lapse, or if you just film the clouds, which would be, you know, droplets or blobs of milk or condensed milk. What's cool about it is over time it shifts and changes, and it looks like real clouds moving. You can either slow it down in editing or speed it up to make it look really creepy or otherworldly. You know, you're like you're on some other Martian planet or something. All right, so now here's a film that I recently found called A Life in Print, and it's from James Harvey. It says here, a stop-motion animation created as a promotion for local newspapers across the UK. So the project was facilitated with pre-production beginning in November 2012 and completed in February 2013. Created at A+C Studios, which is a+c.tv. And I'm going to open that up here in another tab. A Life in Print follows the life story of Ray, who has grown up and interacted with local newspapers during each key moment of his life. I animated the entirety of the project over the course of about 5 weeks. With 45 characters, a constant moving camera in every shot, and 5 sets, it's the largest scale production I've worked on to date. And A+C Studios, artists, animators, storytellers. I don't know how A+C, there's no C there, so I don't really know, I don't understand that, but let's see. So they've got Harrods, the Land of Make-Believe TV advert, which is also stop motion. And Chivas Brothers and Eon Energy, which is pixelated, looks like. So I'm probably going to add this to our, if I haven't already, I'll add this to our studio links on animateclay.com. So if you guys want to check that out later or just do a Google search. And here is a life in print. Make sure the volume's up first.
I can still remember, like movies in my mind, 'cause you have always been there to wanna by my side. You saw all the moments that made me who I am, standing here beside me, to hold my hand. Oh, 'cause you were always there for me through all those changing times, you and me. Through every darkest cloud, you'll be there. And as the years grow short, I'll treasure so many memories spent together. Reach out, I know you'll always be there. I can still remember, like movies in my mind. Oh.
So it's pretty short and but really well made as well.
I can still
Let me put this on mute. So the construction techniques are really kind of, it all looks like paper in a sense, almost like the Little Prince film being produced. So very painterly, very paper mache like, and it makes me wonder what these puppets were actually made from. For example, maybe they were sculpted or out of something and then paper applied over the top of it, because the tree looks like they sort of plastered it on, like plastered on some paper. And see here. And also I noticed when he moves, there's like a cut in his neck that allows his neck to bend. So I'm gathering that it probably is actual paper and not some sort of rubber that is just textured that way. Because it seems like they must have run into a roadblock there. So rays. It does appear this is green screened on the sides. So a lot of movement. So I don't know what kind of software he used to make this. There's no clues exactly as to what it is. Probably Dragon Frame would be my guess. But the lighting, everything looks really nice. So a few little effects, and there's some snow elements as well, which obviously would be, put in there afterwards in editing. And even the snow, it almost looks like they used plaster of some kind and textured it, or I don't really know. But I thought it was really nice. Nice little short. So Claymore says, gives me a thingly feeling. And Ron says, this is excellent. Lots of talent and feeling as well. And Ron says they look like clay to him. I think that's a little bit different. I could be wrong though, because there's no way for me to really to tell for sure, unless I took one apart. But Jason Morrow says, wonderfully thought out and executed, although the animation is a little stiff. Yeah, see, that stiffness is what kind of makes me think that it is some type of paper. And Ron Cole thinks that it could be the actual style they were going after, which is possible as well. Yeah, maybe. And so Bobby says, I just like them because they do look different. The characters, I mean. Alright. I thought it was pretty cool. So, let's see now. This is the next thing we're going to watch. I want to just make sure it loads up first. Put the volume up. Alright, so this actually came out in 1986. And if you're a kid growing up in the 80s, you've probably seen this a million times. But if you haven't, this is probably the best... what do you want to call it? Not recording, but... well, it's the best looking video I've seen out there on the internet as far as quality goes. And this is Pee-wee's Playhouse opening. It's a major thing if you were a kid in the 80s. So let's see if this plays. It's almost done loading. Alright, here we go.
Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Come in and pull yourself up a chair.
Hey, Jerry!
Let the fun begin. It's time to let down your hair. Pee-wee sure excited. Those friends have been invited to the wacky at Pee-wee's Playhouse. There's a crazy rhythm coming from Puppet Land.
What's that?
Dirty do a cool cat, Chicky Baby, or the Puppet Band.
Yeah!
You got a couple of talking fish, and the genie who grant a wish. Chloe is cuckoo at Pee-wee's Playhouse. Chloe's spinning, Mr. Windows winning, course Harry's flying by. Flowers are singing, the picture phone is ringing, and the dinosaur family goes hi. Mr. Kite's soaring, Conky's still snoring, there's a flashing magic screen. The countess is so classy, Randy's kind of sassy, a nuttier establishment you've never seen. Spend the day with Pee-wee and you'll see what we mean.
Come on!
Get out of bed, there'll be no more napping.
Wake up!
Cause we're sitting in a place where anything can happen. Now we give it you fair warning. It's gonna be that kind of morning. We're being wacky. We're getting nutty. Now it's cuckoo at Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Alright, so it's kind of like a non-politically correct version of Blue's Clues or something. It's kind of funny, but that was the opening, and the dinosaur family was another stop-motion aspect to the show. And a lot of people that, like I said, grew up like me in the 80s were introduced to these kind of stop-motion animation sequences that, you know, inspired us to want to know how it was done. And so it's kind of neat that, you know, people are still talking about this today. And by the way, this is on Art of the Title, and you can see this at artofthetitle.com/title/p dash Wees and then dash Playhouse. And so I don't know if I want to read all this text here, but there's some pictures of you know, the early. Oh, does it get bigger or not here? I guess not. So it says here, Phil Trumbo holds the miniature Pee Wee Herman, which you saw at the end of the stop motion sequence where he's looking through the window. And so it's a very small puppet. I think it was foam latex. And let's see what else it says here. So here's an early sketch. Let me see if I can get it bigger here. Full size. So here's the early sketch. So it's really like a, you know, it's not, this is sketched by Gary Pointer, it says. Kind of lays out the building of what Pee-wee's Playhouse might actually look like. And Ron Cole says, or Clay Morris says, this is crazy but really cool. Yeah, it's a really crazy show, and Pee-wee's a really controversial person in real life, so it's kind of real life is just as weird as the show. And Ron says, but the benefit of using that old for me is that I can say I worked there where this was made. Oh, that's right, you said the last time that wasn't this part of this set above the door or something to the studio when you were working there? And Ron says, I met Nick Park there on the elevator long before he was somebody. That's awesome. Wow. You think he remembers you or not? Sometimes I wonder about people I've met at studios, because studios are so busy all the time with so many people. And you think, wow, I met somebody awesome. And then later on, like 10 years later, you're like, hey, you remember me? We met at the studio. They're like, yeah, I remember you. Yeah, what was your name? So, but here's a really cool picture. I think I might be able to make this bigger. Let me see. Using a keyboard trick. If you press Control plus, you can make pictures larger. Oop. It's as large as it gets, I guess. There we go. So you can see the lighting, and this is before the camera pans, I guess. But everything is really solid. You see all these sandbags holding the lights down. Off to the side, there's some rails, which suggest that there's a camera on there, probably sliding around, and got some painting in the background, a big painting of the trees to give depth to the scene. I guess this would be the opening part. So there's the lights. And it says here, camera and model setup for the opening forest scene of the Pee-wee's Playhouse title sequence. It says here, Prudence Fenton takes a break during production of the Pee-wee's Playhouse opening sequence. So here I guess what they were doing is sleeping in the studio. Maybe, I don't know. But you can see a giant blue screen. You can see they're cutting out stuff. There's some spray bottles, and there's some cotton. So maybe they were using cotton for clouds here as well. Although I kind of think they were painted, if I remember. But so here's a mock-up of the set. Very hasty little mock-up. Here's a little bit nicer version of it. And Jason says, I wish I had lighting like that. And Ron says, that was the most magical place I ever worked. And the people there were awesome, many of whom I still know to this day. Awesome. So it's almost like they had some sort of a mock-up contest or something, because there's different versions here. Maybe they were trying to settle on which would look best in terms of color. This, I believe, is unfinished one because you can see there's blue foam. And that's something back here. It looks like perhaps replacement animation parts or something. I'm not sure. So Paul says, I wanted it to be wacky and just full of iconic images, things that were mixed into it. And Prudence says, everything about it was designed to seduce a kid into watching it. And Phil here says, I also think the idea of being diverse, being inclusive, was one of the real themes of the cast and crew of the Playhouse. It was much more ethnically diverse, sociologically diverse group. And this picture is a detailed shot of the model used for season 1 of Pee-wee's Playhouse. So I wonder if there were different versions for different seasons, because I never recalled there being different openings, but I could be wrong. And Ron says, the greatest thing about that place was that the producers and directors gave the artists a huge amount of creative freedom. I rarely remember them changing anything I created. Bobby says, replacement Pentagon thingies. Yes. So these are really awesome pictures. I mean, I've never, seen these anywhere except for this site. So this is something that I think is pretty rare if you can, remember these things from your childhood. And it is painted clouds behind there. And I guess the large blue screens that we saw before were probably, this is probably them. And they hoisted them up behind the set. And because the camera wraps around this set, I think that they curved the clouds around the back. Or so it seems. So it seems. Oops. That's the other picture there. And there we are again. Back to more uses for motion control and stepper motors again. So, larger productions almost always seem to incorporate some sort of stepper motor controlled motion control devices. And this here would have been fairly pioneering actually for Pee-wee's Playhouse, because the first time they really used stepper motors and motion control on a big scale was Nightmare Before Christmas in what year was that? 1995 or so, maybe. So this is like, for any sort of film, this is pretty, or opening, it's pretty amazing that they were doing that. Because like ILM and other big studios were using it, but stop motion was a little bit slow to adopt motion control, at least, mechanized. So let me see here. The description says animator Kent Burton animates the Pee Wee Herman figurine for the season 1 opener. And Kent Burton is a heavy metal guitarist as well, if you guys don't know that. He likes to play guitar. And Ron Cole says, the main word to describe every project that was produced there was wacky. Yeah, it is pretty wacky. A lot of lively, strange characters. Yeah, that would be definitely the definition of wacky for sure. And Clay Morris says, Spy Kids is kind of in the similar style. And Ron Cole says, they were one of the first places to use a video playback for animation. Although I never animated there, the main animators were Phil Cook and Chris Gilligan. Danger Productions is another place where they used, later on, after all this, Bump in the Night, they used a Macintosh, I think, based capture system where you could play back your animation. And also Will Vinton Productions. I guess Will Vinton Productions was one of the first, maybe this studio. It was an exciting time, you know, all this new stuff, and unfortunately stop motion was never really steady, though. Work for people was never really so steady back then. Still isn't, I guess. But there's Pee-wee. I think these are lava lamps here, but I'm not sure how they animated that, or did they? These lava lamps. I just realized that. I wonder if they just turned the lava lamp off and let it cool so it got stuck in that position. We'll have to watch the show opener again later on to see. So here's the opening lyrics that were sketched out. It's about as organized as my own personal projects. It's kind of really chicken scratch. And here is time lapse of the sequence. So you can see how they spun the whole thing. And there's little, if you look on the floor, there's these little tick marks of tape that they used just to make sure that the distance that they moved it was equal spacing. And it's like they built these little chairs for the animators to get up top and animate the figures. So imagine how long it must have taken them to do this. I mean, just this little 18-second time lapse was probably how many hours of work, you know. It's like, oh, gotta move that puppet, so wheel me back in place, you know. So this thing here must have been pushed over, and it seems like, see if I can pause it where he's, so I think is it Richard Kent Burton there on the top? And this guy here is just pushing him around for hours and hours. It's like, why did I sign up for this job? My God. Okay, so I'm looking at the lava lamps. It does seem like they did not have them turned on. Alright, so so this is actually 1989, it says here. So time-lapse video of the shoot for the updated version of Pee-wee's opening. So there are two versions that I guess they span 3 years. Pretty neat though. And there's Pee-wee. Alright, so that does conclude, except for this here. Let me reduce the size a bit. So here's the production crew, and you can see everybody that was involved. It's quite a lot of people. And I recognize him. What's his name again? Probably Ron Cole knows. He made that Potato Hunter film, I think. And so Ron says, Kent is an old friend. We've been on a number of projects at the same time, from cartoony commercials to monster movies. And Bobby says, I think it changed where Pee-wee just walked in the door after whatever seasons. And Claymara says, those chairs, though, need one of those. Yeah. I wish that the garage that I'm doing my work in is tall enough where I would need one of those, but and Ron says they really trusted the artist who produced the best product. No top-down control at the studio. It was fantastic. I love that Pee-wee is back. He deserves a second chance. And Jason says they're making a new Pee-wee movie right now. That's pretty neat. And yeah, let me look it up really quick here. You do, I bet, Ron. Let me see. All right, where is it? Timothy Lee Hiddle. That's his name, right there. He made Potato Hunter. Remember? I'm sure you remember. And I'm not subscribed to him, so I'm gonna subscribe. Yeah, Potato Hunter is a really cool film. If you guys ever want to watch a fun film, I believe we watched this in the past. Seems like I can't. Oh, here we go. Have you guys seen it? Do you guys recognize it? He worked on Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach. I just couldn't remember his name. So that was shot on film. That was before. I think was Canhead also shot on film? Maybe it was. Let's see. So Canhead, another really good film. How long is this one? 7 minutes? I think we'll watch this and then conclude our show, guys. So that is Canhead from Timothy Hiddle, and he was part of the same crew on the Pee-wee's Playhouse opening project, and so he is this guy right here, down in the bottom. So anyways, there you have it. I guess thanks to everybody who showed up to join us and learn more about stop motion and stepper motors and motion control and making clouds and everything. It's been fun, and I guess see you guys on this week. See you later.